So one of the things that you touched on is that sometimes things aren't working out. And the am I going to get fired?
At other companies. I've heard of that happen.
Yeah. And sometimes the answer to am I going to get fired is yes. So, so around that, not everyone you hire is going to be a success. So when do you know that you've made a mistake, and how do you let go of someone and maintain your culture and keep morale up? Natalie?
Yeah, you're not always going to get it right with your hiring process. You try to get 100% right and get the right fit, but sometimes you have someone that just isn't a fit culturally or doesn't meet technically what you had expected. So yeah, you will have to eventually terminate some employees, and it's never easy. So I think honesty as much as possible and communication as much as you can. Once you've exited the employee, just communicate to the staff as much as possible, maybe why they weren't a fit. And, some people might be down, or some people might be nervous about it going forward for the next couple of days, but usually the culture will shift back, and employees, for the most part, they get it. They'll pick out those employees that aren't fitting their culture or meeting the expectations as well. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. And that's the other thing, is try not to blindside employees as much as possible. Have communication, keep that open dialogue with them, sit down with them, try and talk with them before you have to exit them out of the organization, so they aren't blindsided or employees aren't aware of what's going on.
Rebecca?
So I think first off, when you're looking at bringing somebody on board initially and you're recruiting, you do everything you can to make sure that you're hiring the right person for the role. But, inevitably there are people who, for one reason or another, don't end up working out. I think it's really important to identify that early as much as possible, and really identifying it for your own benefit for the company, and then also for the individual. It's a lot of money to spend ramping somebody up and getting them on board and getting them, really intimate in your products and your development processes or whatever they're working on. And it's really expensive to keep them around. And so that may sound cold-hearted, but it is the truth, and especially for startups, it's really critical that every hire you make is the best hire, and if it's not, you need to make that change. Like Natalie said, when it comes to communication, making sure that the employees understand, what's happened, that it's not due to the fact that the company's doing a restructuring and all of a sudden, everybody should fear for their jobs, anything like that. There needs to be clear communication as much as possible in terms of what happened. And I think supporting that individual, so there's a couple things. So if you don't make a decision, if you don't make the call to get rid of somebody who isn't a fit for the organization, who's not performing the way you need them to, and for whatever reason, they're just not a fit for the organization, if you do not make that decision, you actually lose a lot of credibility with your other employees, because they're like, why aren't you doing something about this person? It costs more money to manage that person. It costs more of our time to fix their mistakes. I can't do my job as well because this person is always, a roadblock. And so, the managers lose credibility, the executive team lose credibility, and you lose that trust of your other employees, and you could potentially lose other employees as a result of not dealing with somebody who's a performance issue. Or potentially they're great performers, but culturally, they're just a pain in the butt, and they don't get along well with other people, and they're always a thorn in people's side. And then, like I said, just making sure that communication is there, and when you're letting them go, it's supporting them. So it's not that they're a bad person. It's not that they meant to, get hired for this job and then not be a great fit. They had just as high hopes as you did. So making sure that, as they're leaving the organization, I think it's really mean to walk people right out the door. Let them leave with dignity, unless they are an immediate threat to people around you. You don't walk them right out the door like you have to escort them like you're the police. I just think, it's wrong. Let them sort of let them sort of leave when they're ready. And let them leave with dignity. I think it's really important, and in my experience, I keep in touch with a lot of people that in the past, unfortunately, I have had to let go, and everything that they've said has been, have handled it any better, and I really respect, you know, the decision that you made and why you guys made it. You know, and I appreciate all the support I got along the way. So, you know, what do you need? How can I help you? And, you know, following up with them and saying, you know, how are you doing? It's been a couple weeks, you know, is there anything I can do? Do you want me to review your resume? All those sorts of things that can help out. And like I said, you hired them for a reason, so there must have been some interest, and if you got that far, so I think you should provide just as much support when you're exiting.
Allie?
This is the toughest thing in the world. I mean, it's just, it sucks every time. It's the saddest thing in the world. If you cry when you have to fire someone, or you have to fire someone, it's totally like acceptable, and it should hurt every single time. And you can never get good at it, I don't think. I mean, getting good, if you ever get good at letting people go, I think there's something wrong and cold in you. Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, it's sad. I think that, how many people in the audience right now are in charge of HR at a company, or are running a company, or have staff that they manage themselves? Like, if you put up your hands. Okay, cool. There's a lot of people, maybe about half. I'm betting right now that in each of your teams, there's someone right now that you know, at least one person that you should have let go already, that doesn't fit, and you're rationalizing in your head, what if I try this other form of management? And you've already tried that 3 times, but you rationalize that it's worth another try, and that sort of thing. And the right answer is, you should go, when you go back to work today or tomorrow, you should sit down with that person and say, it's not working out, and you need to move on. And it's just really tough to do that. And even if I tell you to do that, it's still going to be tough, and you might not do it. And I think what you need to do is, you need to send me an email or call me on the phone, me personally, and I will coach you through it, because I know how hard it is. And it's the unfortunate part of leading a team or a company, is that you have to make those decisions. And every time I do it, I have to remind myself that every person that works at well.ca right now deserves to work somewhere where they're valued and their manager thinks that they're the greatest thing that ever happened to this company. And so if they're not in that spot right now, you need to help them get to that spot. Sometimes they will hate you for a long time. Sometimes they will hate you forever. But it's the thing you have to do. I don't know. There's no good answer. There's no good way to do it. There's no good feeling way to do it. One of the interesting things that I started to do very recently, which is the strangest thing you'll ever see, is that when I personally recruit people now, before they sign their papers, I say, let's talk on the phone, and I talk to them about, what if it doesn't work? What will it be like? What happens 3 months from now if you don't like the company, or we're finding that you're not a fit? What will the conversation be like? I get them to envision the idea of being asked to being let go, because I don't want them to think that we're setting them up for failure. What I want them to think is that this could be amicable if we're both mature about it. And the conversation is all about how I value them so much before we've recruited them that I will help them find a better job. I will find you a place because you're so talented. We don't hire people who aren't talented. So you're so talented, I will find you a job, and you can stay at the company while we find someone, or I'll pay you through that whole process. But I want you to know that it's possible that it won't work out, and I want you to think about what that will feel like. Because I think a lot of the reasons why firing feels so tough is that everybody feels blindsided, and it's important to help people not feel like it's an impossibility, even though that's kind of a negative way to start.